Hi, I'm Cheryl Hensley at MacGregor Elementary in Houston ISD. I'm here to talk to you about poetry pockets. Once a month, they come in and they have poem pockets on their tables. You usually put one for each child on the table, and what these are poems inside the pockets, and we always start with our same favorite poem. Keep a poem in your pocket. Keep a poem in your pocket and a picture in your head, and you'll never be lonely at night when you're in bed. The little poem will sing to you, the little picture will bring to you a dozen dreams to dance to you at night when you're in bed. So, keep a poem in your pocket and a picture in your head, and you'll never be lonely at night when you're in bed. When we get our poetry pockets, the first thing I try to do is relate the month or the activity or the theme that we're doing for the month. This past week we did poetry pockets, and we had our back to school poems. In the Scholastic book orders, we ordered poetry pocket books. My dog does my homework. I like it here at school. There's poems that you know it, and one of their favorites, If I Ran the School. A lot of these poems are traditional poems that they use for years, and they always came out with the dollar special during the Scholastic Book Fair. But one of the poems I love to start with is the Keep the Poem Pocket every single month. But then this month I'll trade it out and do October, and we'll start with Uggs. So during the month of October, we're getting ready to do Uggs. There's an old tennis balls. I went to the local tennis club, asking for all their old tennis balls, and we cut them open and put eyes on them, and now we have Uggs. Ugly, wuggly, ziggly, zee. The baby Uggs are fierce and free. Ugly, wuggly, ziggly, zay, the baby Uggs come out today. One of their favorite things to do is take their Uggs and do their own poems. Write their poems or do the poems we have in our pockets, and they get behind the little reader's theater and they practice with their Uggs. They can do them as a group, they can do it as an individual, but they have fun. A lot of them still like to do them with music because we are a music magnet, but they have fun with poetry. The couple of things that the teachers have asked me to do is make sure that I cover all different types of poetry. This is one of my favorite books that I use, Fly with Poetry, because it has all the different kinds of poetry, examples of different ones, so that I use different ones. Every time they come in, I have a different style of poetry that we'll go over. Another thing that I try to do for the elementary, for the K through 2, is using Poem a Day. It's one of the books that I use as an anthology, and it has a poetry for every day of the month, not just holidays, but poetry just for every day. Another thing that they just came up this past year, one of the fun things is science for the anthology. And this is an in-service that I went to, and Poetry Friday, they call it, and it has science objectives in there for poetry. Some of the old poem books that I get that have already been weeded, I end up taking them apart. This is called Oh Such Foolishness, illustrated by Tommy DePaula and written by William Cole. But I've taken it apart and actually pulled out some of the old poems and actually use these inside the poetry pockets when they come in, or actually laminate them and stick them on the bathrooms and in the classrooms on their doors going up the stairway, so that they're always trying to read poetry. Another fun thing to do is the Hailstones and Halibut Bones. That is a classic, but a lot of times they realize that this is not as fun just reading the poetry, so I have them to create their own poems. First come out with a list of all things that are yellow or all things that are red, and see if they can come up with an idea of just making a list and how to put it together. But then they get to read the poems from the book that I've taken and put in the pockets. So each table would have a different color, and then they make their own poems using the list that they've created. But this gives them a great example. Another things I find is at Half Price Bookstore, a lot of their clearance items are the old poetry books. Treasures for $1. Other ones that have to do with school, kind of like joke books sometimes, but they'll have poetry inside of them. And the other one that I love to do is always a treasure. And If You Were in Charge of the World by Judith Viorst. If I were in charge of the world, I'd cancel the oatmeal, Monday mornings, algae shots, and also Sarah Steinberg. Why would you be in charge? What would you do if you were in charge of the world? Poetry can be a lot of fun, but all you have to do is just share with them and see what they come up with.